Today we're diving into one of the most powerful stories ever told. It's a story about oppression, about a hero who never wanted the job, and about a dramatic escape that gives birth to an entire nation. This, of course, is the story of the Exodus.
So where does this all begin? Well, the Israelites have been living in Egypt for generations. But now there's a new pharaoh in charge, one who, as the text says, did not know Joseph. All that history of cooperation? Gone. He looks at this huge, growing population of Israelites, and he doesn't see neighbors. Nope. He sees a threat, a potential enemy within his own borders. And that fear is about to set a truly terrible plan in motion. And just like that, the good times are over. The prosperity the Israelites once had completely vanishes. Pharaoh unleashes a brutal system of slavery. They're put under cruel taskmasters and forced to build massive supply cities for him. Their lives become a nightmare of hard labor, day in and day out. The goal was simple and ruthless, to crush their spirits and stop their population from growing.
But what's so wild here is how every single one of Pharaoh's plans just completely backfires. The more he oppresses them with labor, the more their population grows. It's the exact opposite of what he wanted. So he tries a more sinister plan. He secretly orders the Hebrew midwives to kill all newborn boys. But they refuse. They fear God more than they fear Pharaoh. So he escalates again, making it a public law. Every Hebrew son must be thrown into the Nile River. A horrific decree. But it's this final act of brutality that sparks an act of defiance that will change everything.
And that act of defiance is a baby in a basket, set afloat on that very same river. His name is Moses. And in this incredible twist of fate, who finds him? Pharaoh's own daughter. So the very child who was sentenced to death is raised as a prince in the house of the man who ordered it. This crazy paradox, a Hebrew by birth, an Egyptian by upbringing, is at the core of who he is. And his life is about to get a lot more complicated.
This really maps out his wild journey. He goes from being a prince to a fugitive in the blink of an eye. He sees an Egyptian taskmaster beating a Hebrew, and in a moment of rage, he kills the Egyptian. He has to run for his life. So he trades his royal life in Egypt for the quiet, humble life of a shepherd out in the wilderness of Midian. And is right there, in the middle of nowhere, that he has this unbelievable encounter at a burning bush, a call that will send him right back to the place he ran from.
But here's the thing. When he's called to go back and free his people, Moses is not ready. He argues. He makes every excuse in the book. He tells God he's not the right guy for the job, saying he's slow of speech and slow of tongue. This is not your classic hero, charging in with a sword. Not at all. He's hesitant, he's insecure, and he feels totally unqualified. His leadership isn't something he wants, it's something he reluctantly accepts.
So, with his brother Aaron to act as his spokesman, Moses goes back to Egypt. And what happens next isn't going to be a polite negotiation. This is a full-blown confrontation. It's a duel of wills, really, a battle between the power of a pharaoh and the power of God, with the freedom of an entire people hanging in the balance.
They make their first demand, "Let my people go." And Pharaoh's response? It's not just no, it's so much worse. He actually doubles down on the cruelty. He accuses the people of being lazy and then makes their work impossible. He demands the same number of bricks, but now he won't give them the straw they need to make them. It's an incredibly vicious move designed to just demoralize them completely and crush any hope they might have had.
So now, the plagues begin. And this isn't just random bad luck. It's a systematic takedown of Egypt's power, an attack on everything they believe in. It starts with disruptions to everyday life. The Nile turns to blood. Frogs and lice are everywhere. Then it escalates to outright destruction. Their livestock die, painful boils break out, and a fiery hail ruins their crops. And finally, it builds to total desolation. Locusts eat whatever is left, a terrifying darkness falls over the land, and the stage is set for one final, devastating blow.
Okay, so right before this final, most devastating plague is unleashed, the Israelites are given a very specific set of instructions. This is the origin of the Passover. Every family has to take a lamb, sacrifice it, and mark their doorposts with its blood. It's this really powerful, really visceral act of faith. It's a sign to distinguish their homes so that the judgment that's about to sweep through Egypt will literally pass over them.
And then, at midnight, it happens. The final plague strikes, and a great cry is heard all across Egypt as every firstborn son dies. And that finally shatters Pharaoh's will. In the middle of the night, he calls for Moses and Aaron, and he doesn't just let them go. He's literally begging them to get out, now. The moment they've been waiting for has arrived, and it's absolute chaos.
The scale of this is just mind-boggling. We're not talking about a small group of people.
The text says there were about 600,000 men on foot, and that's before you even count women and children. So we're likely talking millions of people. An entire nation is on the move, leaving so quickly they don't even have time to let their bread rise.
So they're out. They're free. Imagine that feeling. A nation of people who were slaves just hours before are now marching out into the desert. Their way is lit by a pillar of cloud during the day and a pillar of fire at night, a constant, visible sign that they're being guided. For a brief moment, it must have felt like the nightmare was finally over.
But of course, it doesn't last. Back in Egypt, once the grief and shock wear off, Pharaoh is furious. He's just lost his entire workforce. "What have we done?" he says. So he gathers his entire army, including his 600 best chariots, and he tears after them, determined to drag them back. So imagine this moment. You're an Israelite. You look in front of you, a huge, impassable sea. You look behind you, the dust cloud from the most powerful army on earth. And it's getting closer. You're trapped. There's nowhere to go. And just absolute panic sets in. People start screaming that they were brought out here just to die. And while everyone is, understandably, freaking out, Moses stands up. He gives them this incredible command. He says, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm." He basically tells them, "Be still and watch, because this fight isn't yours." And then the unbelievable happens. A strong east wind starts blowing all night long, and it literally parts the sea. It creates a path of dry land right through the middle of the water, with these giant walls of water held up on either side. It's impossible, but it's happening. The Israelites walk through to safety, and when Pharaoh's army blindly charges in after them, the walls of water come crashing back down, and the entire army is destroyed. But you know, getting away is one thing. Becoming a nation? That's a whole different challenge. The story now shifts from a thrilling escape to the hard work of building a community. This group of former slaves has to figure out how to live together. And that brings them to the foot of a massive, intimidating mountain in the desert, Mount Sinai. And the scene at Mount Sinai is just intense. The whole mountain is covered in smoke, it's shaking, there's thunder, lightning, the sound of a trumpet blast. This is not a casual get-together. This is a powerful, almost terrifying encounter that's setting the stage for a covenant, an agreement that will define them forever. And out of all that fire and smoke comes order, a code, the 10 Commandments. Think about it. These are people who have only ever known the arbitrary and cruel orders of a slave master. And now, for the first time, they're being given a moral framework for how to live, how to relate to God, and how to relate to each other. It's basically a constitution for a brand new nation. And this really is the big takeaway, isn't it? The story doesn't just end with the escape. It moves immediately to the giving of the law. And it suggests that being freed from something, like slavery, is just the beginning. To be truly free, to build a just and lasting society, you need something more. You need a shared internal structure, a set of rules and responsibilities. So it leaves us with this huge question that echoes through history. What does true freedom really require?